This is the Principal's Toolkits, a perfect inclusive playground for everyone. This video is based on the article A Perfect Playground for Everyone, written by Dr. Melinda Bossenmeyer.
Picture a school playground during recess. What do you see? It's probably a little bit of chaos, right? Kids running all over the place, maybe some arguments about game rules, and a couple of teachers trying their best to keep everything under control. It's a scene we all know. But what if I told you the solution to some of the biggest problems on the playground, from injuries to kids feeling left out, wasn't some expensive new jungle gym, but something way, way simpler?
So, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start by digging into what the real problem is with most playgrounds. Then, we'll look at a super simple, but really powerful solution. We'll explore the three key pillars that make it all work, check out the hard data that proves it's effective, and finally, we'll talk about what it really means to build a playground for everyone. All right, let's kick things off with the playground problem, because honestly, for a place that's supposed to be all about fun, it can end up being a huge source of stress for students and teachers alike. Let's just start with this number because it's pretty staggering. Every single year in the US alone, over 200,000 kids get injured on school playgrounds badly enough that they have to see a doctor. That is a massive number, and it tells you right away that playground safety is a serious nationwide issue. But the problem goes way beyond just scraped knees and broken arms. Think about it. For a lot of schools, the playground is the #1 spot for disciplinary issues. It's where arguments break out over rules, over who gets to play, and over what little equipment there is. And for a lot of kids, it can be a really lonely place where they just feel left out. So what do you do about all this? Well, the answer turned out to be this simple but really brilliant idea that changed everything. And it didn't come from some big company, it was literally born out of pure necessity. The whole thing started with a question. How do you fix all these safety and social problems without a giant budget? What if the answer wasn't about adding more stuff, but about completely rethinking the space you already have? Yeah, what if the solution to all that playground chaos was right there, already under our feet? And it turns out it was. The entire solution starts with a little bit of paint. That's it. It's a super low cost, incredibly high impact way to completely change the whole dynamic of recess. This idea is the core of a program called Peaceful Playgrounds. It was actually created way back in the 80s by a PE specialist named Melinda Bossenmeyer. Her principal basically came to her and said, hey, can you figure out a way to solve all the discipline problems we're having at recess? And her solution was this amazing system using painted games, one set of rules for everybody, and teaching kids how to resolve their own conflicts. So, how does this actually work? Well, the whole program is built on three really simple but totally brilliant pillars. Okay, pillar #1 is all about redesigning the environment. You take the plain old blacktop and, using stencils, you just transform it. You paint dozens of colorful games and activities, and suddenly it has this amusement park kind of feel. And the key is you're not adding big, expensive play structures, you're just making the most of the space you have. When there are tons of choices, kids naturally spread out into smaller groups, and right away that cuts down on crowding and conflict. And the variety you can create with just a little paint is incredible. I mean, we're talking over 100 new games and activities. You can have educational games, like a giant US map for geography or alphabet and number grids. You've got stuff to develop motor skills, like balance beams painted right on the ground, and different tracks for skipping and hopping. And maybe the best part, because everything is on a flat surface, every single activity is accessible for students who use wheelchairs. Pillar #2 is all about consistent rules. One clear set of rules for every single game is taught to every student and every supervisor. For the first 3 months of school, that's a major focus. I mean, it makes sense, right? When everyone knows the rules, you have way fewer arguments about whether a ball was in or out. It just creates a level playing field for everybody. And maybe the single most important rule is this one little phrase. You can't say you can't play. Just that one rule completely shifts the whole culture of the playground. It moves it away from a place where kids might get excluded to a place where the whole idea is to invite other kids to join in. It's a total game changer. And that leads us right into the third pillar, teaching kids how to resolve their own conflicts. So instead of running to an adult for every little thing, students learn a super simple 3-step process: walk, talk, or rock. First, they can just walk away and go play a different game. Second, they can try to talk it out. And third, for those little disputes, they just use rock, paper, scissors. It's fast, it's fair, and it gets them right back to playing.
This is a huge social emotional skill, and it teaches kids to be independent and solve problems right there on the blacktop. So, the big question is, does all this actually work? I mean, the ideas sound great, but what does the data say? Well, they actually did a 6-year study at the very first school where the program is put in place. And the results were just dramatic. Look at this. In the school year before the program, there were 51 total injuries. Just 3 years later, that number dropped all the way down to 9. And here's the critical part. The number of students at the school was almost exactly the same. The only big thing that changed was the playground. This table really tells the whole story. So the program started in '95. And check this out. Even though the student population went up that first year, injuries were cut in half. And even more importantly, look at the serious injuries, the ones that required a doctor. They went from 22 all the way down to just 3. That's incredible. So let's put it another way. By the end of the study, total injuries had dropped to just 17% of what they used to be. The school district's nurse basically said the statistics tell the whole story. This program just flat out makes playgrounds safer. But the impact isn't just about the numbers. The data is powerful, for sure, but the social and emotional benefits, the human impact, that's just as important. This quote from an adapted PE teacher, it really gets to the heart of it. A truly peaceful playground has to be an inclusive one. And because all these new activities are at ground level, students with physical disabilities are no longer stuck on the sidelines. Just take the story of Andrea, a 5th grader who uses a wheelchair. On a normal playground with big structures, her options might have been pretty limited. But on a peaceful playground, she was right in the middle of it, playing games like the number grid or traveling across the giant US map with her friends. She was totally integrated, just a part of the fun. And these benefits just ripple outwards. All the different games help kids with their motor skills. The walk, talk, rock system improves their social skills in a way that carries over into the classroom. Students become more independent, and the whole school just develops this more positive, cooperative culture. When you boil it all down, what this all shows is that making playgrounds safer and more inclusive isn't about spending a ton of money on fancy new equipment. It's about smart, simple, intentional design. It's this idea that a little more structure can actually lead to more creative and peaceful play. It's about seeing the blacktop not as just empty space, but as a giant canvas. So that really leaves us with one final thought. The next time you see a school playground, what are you going to see? Is it just empty space? Or is it a field of possibilities? What amazing, untapped potential is hiding on your blacktop?
This video is one component of the Principal's Toolkits. Toolkits also include articles you can download, slide decks you can download, podcasts to listen to, and we have many topics from playgrounds to recess to inclement weather and more. Go to the Principal's Toolkits to download your staff meeting toolkit.